All right, Mr. Williams, I have your mailing address on Broadway in Ann Arbor. Is that a place where you can get mail from the court?
Yes.
And is it okay with you if the court uses your phone number and your email address to have contact with you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have two files here today, State of Michigan versus Noah Williams, 24F55071 and 24F55072. I will appoint the Public Defender's Office on both files. Go ahead when you're ready, Ms. Pate.
Thank you, Your Honor. Assistant Public Defender Natalie Pate for Mr. Williams. I only had the one file on my docket, Your Honor. As to that one, we do waive formal reading and stay on mute. As to the second file.
Which one? I don't know which one is the one you had.
We had the assault with intent to murder file, which I believe was the 24F55071 file.
Okay. So the other file, the complaint states that on or about April 1st, 2024, at 231 South State Street in the city of Ann Arbor, defendant is accused of committing the crime of assault with a dangerous weapon, making an assault upon Thomas Prisco with a knife. That's a maximum of 4 years and or $2,000. And count 2 is a misdemeanor assault or assault and battery against Tanner Jones with a maximum of 93 days and or $500.
Thank you, Your Honor. As to both files, we do stand mute. As that the court enter a plea of not guilty, and we also request to address bond when appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Emmons.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'm going to kind of back everything up here just so the court has a better understanding of what I believe is happening here. Mr. Williams is somebody who comes to us. I believe he's 21 years old. That's going to become important, I think, in a little bit. He's 21 years old. He's here in Ann Arbor. Ann Arbor Police Department and other surrounding agencies have recently been receiving a lot of information and reports of people encountering an aggressive individual, bumping into them, muttering under their breath, with unpleasantries. I'll put it at that. But that person is a relative unknown. There's these kind of reports scattered through the area, but they all seem to come back and match a description of Mr. Williams. Mr. Williams, then there's an incident that happens on 4/1. This is the Target incident. Mr. Williams comes to the Target. He confronts the complainant listed in count number 2 outside of the Target, who's got his little sister. There's a brief moment, and he essentially threatens him, like says something to the effect of like, "I'll kill you right here." More unpleasantries. He then goes into the Target as Mr. Jones is still watching, and he then confronts a second individual inside of the Target. They have a brief scuffle, and to which Mr. Williams, on this unknown male, takes what I believe is a folding knife and points it right up to the individual's neck. That person pushes Mr. Jones away, and they separate from there.
Not Mr. Jones. Mr. Williams pushes Mr. Williams away.
Mr. Williams, yes, I'm sorry. He puts the knife up to Mr. Prisco's neck, who is the second individual. So then we fast forward to the fourth. At this point in time, he's able to leave the scene of the Target, and police have no idea who he is, right? So we go to the incident that happens on 4/4. I believe it's a female individual who's named in the complaint on that incident. And so I'm talking about both of the files all together, not one at a time, because I think it's important.
Yeah, I understand.
So he then is on the AATA. This Miss Ratcliffe recognizes him as being a unpleasant individual for weeks. They all kind of get on the bus at the same time at the same location, and he has been an unpleasant individual with other people on the bus for weeks. And he confronts an individual. Miss Ratcliffe then steps in, to which the fight is on. Mr. Williams comes at her, I have to assume, and this is my assumption, there's no described pause in the action. So it has to be the case that Mr. Williams, when he lunges at Miss Ratcliffe, already has the knife in his hand. Nobody sees the knife, but it's not until he gets up and leaves that Miss Ratcliffe realizes that she's now been stabbed. Her wounds will be 2 deep laceration marks across her chest that have now been glued and bandaged and wrapped, and she is in a significant amount of pain, as one can imagine.
So the notes in the bond recommendation say required surgery.
Yeah, correct. Yep.
Are we talking about stitches, gluing, suturing, or are we talking about some damage to internal organs? I don't know what required surgery means in this context.
I don't believe that there was any damage to the vital organs, so that's obviously a concern with where the stabs happened. It's in that area, but I think it was mostly just suturing and then gluing, but
okay.
So
All right, thank you.
And so I bring that to the court's attention. I've had an opportunity to listen to some of the jail calls that Mr. Williams has placed to his grandparents. It's clear to me that there's some kind of medicine that he's supposed to be on. It's unclear to me whether he's been taking that medicine. And what I'm seeing is a pattern of behavior for somebody who has been looking for confrontation in order to justify some kind of violent tendencies. And that has just been an escalation over the past couple of weeks. And I know that Detective Lewick is going to be following up on all of those different reports now that he's found not too far away from the bus stop area, and they find him with a bloody hand and with a knife. He makes admissions on the jail call to there being an incident that happens at Target. He claims that he forgot about it. And either that means that he's being deliberately manipulative towards his grandparents, or that this is such a routine thing that it would just fall away in the normal course of business. I don't think it's that.
Or that he has such a severe mental illness that he's not forming normal memories.
And that could be. And so I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to pretend that I am. But, given his age, and I said this at the very beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some kind of schizoaffective that's turning into some kind of schizophrenia. And that would be tragic. But
who does he live with? Who does he live with?
He lives by himself at the Broadway apartment. I believe that's probably being paid for by his grandparents.
Okay. And where do his grandparents live?
I believe I think they live here in the Ann Arbor area.
Okay.
I don't have an exact address. They're not a part of the police report, but
okay.
But so, I don't know that they understand the gravity of the situation that's been going on and the what I believe is the clear and present danger that he presents to the community. I'm going to ask for a significantly high cash bond because of what I perceive to be that danger to the public. And I mean, I think appropriately so, what needs to happen sometime down the road is he needs to be seen. He needs to be evaluated so that we can better plan how he's going to exist, if he's going to exist in the community, so that he can mitigate that risk of harm. But until we have those type of answers, I would feel very uncomfortable with him being able to post any kind of a bond, and left to his own devices. I don't know that there's anything that we can put in terms of tethers that is going to appropriately supervise him.
I suppose a home confinement tether would provide some warning if he left his apartment. But of course a tether doesn't it's not like a shock collar. It doesn't prevent someone from going about their business. It only notifies the tether company where a person is. Okay, and this is not just so we're making a good record here. There is no situation under which bond could be denied. He doesn't have any previous criminal history, and these don't meet the statutory requirements or the court rule requirements as I understand them.
Right. Yeah, I don't think that he comes with any of the, anything that indicates the 6A provision.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I would concede that point. It doesn't change though how I feel about what I'm arguing. Thank you.
No. I agree. I just wanted to make sure that for the record, we were covering all of those things.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? You're all set? And did you want Detective Lewick to say
And
anything?
so I would invite
Okay. Detective Lewick, if you have something to say, you're welcome to. It's not required, of course.
I'm all set, Your Honor.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ms. Pate.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, I won't be diving into the facts of the case. However, to first note, I do not want to minimize the serious nature of these allegations, except to point out that these are at this point allegations, and my client is entitled to the presumption of innocence as well as the presumption of pretrial release. He is almost 22 years old. He turns 22 in June, and he does have no prior criminal convictions. He is local to the area. He lives in Ann Arbor at the address provided to the court, and he does have the support of his grandparents who also live in Ann Arbor, and he has been in quite a lot of contact with them since these alleged incidents have taken place. I also am not a psychiatrist, and I'm not going to opine on my client's mental state, and certainly not to give any sort of diagnosis, as again, I am not a psychiatrist, and that would be very inappropriate. However, at this time, our request is to release Mr. Williams on PR bonds with a home confinement tether, or in the alternate, a low cash surety bond. Again, he has no prior convictions. He is not a flight risk. He has strong ties to this community, including his family. The complaining witnesses in these matters are strangers to him. He has no objections to any bond conditions. He is a full-time student. He is studying environmental science. He is respectfully requesting PR bonds on both matters with home confinement tether. No objection to any bond conditions. My client does not partake of substances of any kind, but he did indicate no objection to any sort of testing as required by the court. He is very hopeful that he can be released to deal with this while out of custody, not in the jail, so that he can have the support of his grandparents. He understands all bond conditions and is requesting a PR bond at this point. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Williams, my job is to set, one of the things that my job requires me to do is to set bonds for people who are charged with crimes. And there are lots of court rules and statutes in Michigan about setting bonds. And basically, the job is to balance your rights, the right to be presumed innocent, the right to have be out of jail, the right to have a bond that is affordable. That's not really a right, but assuming that most people should be released from custody unless there's a reason that they shouldn't be. That's balancing that with, is this person for whom bond is being set a danger to the community or a flight risk? And so balancing all of that, a bond should be fashioned to protect the community, ensure that the defendant will appear at court and follow court rules, and be the least burdensome bond available so that the defendant's rights to liberty and the presumption of innocence are protected. In a situation like yours, one of the things that this court is concerned with is why a person's behavior, I'm going to say, changes. So you have no criminal history, and now here you are before me today being accused of assaulting 3 people, using a knife in 2 of those instances, and stabbing someone so that stitches were required. And all of these things being not only witnessed by bystanders and the victims, but some of it was also on some security cameras. So there are other people around when these kinds of things are supposedly occurring. All of that is extremely dangerous. Dangerous not only for the members of the community, but also dangerous for you. As I understand, at least one of these situations, there was an actual confrontation with the victim. Under some circumstances, it could have been you that were hurt. So there is definitely a strong danger to the community component here today. I don't know about flight risk. I don't have any reason to believe that you wouldn't come back to court. You don't have any criminal history. There's nothing to base that on. And you do have family support. So I'm not really concerned with flight risk. I am very concerned with danger to the community. So I'm adopting the prosecutor's recommendation in full. I don't always do that. Sometimes I think that there's other things that might be more appropriate for a case than what the prosecutor is recommending. But for these files, the danger is extremely high, and I don't think that there's a reason to deviate from that recommendation. So on one file, the one at the Target, there's a recommendation for a $1 million bond. On the nope, on the one on the bus, there's a $1 million bond. The one at Target, the request is for a $25,000 bond. Mr. Emmons, is that really what you want? Just that small bond on that one?
If I had to be a guessing man, you'll see that there are two APAs that issued each of the charges. And so I think that the Target incident was kind of submitted and didn't fully appreciate what had happened on the bus. So, I mean, I'm obviously more concerned about the AWIM and the million. I think that
but overall, we're concerned about Mr. Williams.
Right.
So,
right.
I think having said I was going to follow the recommendations, I think what I'm going to do instead is set a $750,000 cash or surety bond on each file.
All right. That works for me, Your Honor. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. So $750,000 cash or surety, no 10%. That means that either that amount has to be paid or a bail bondsman could post it. Total on, and I'm setting that on each file. So the total is $1.5 million. The conditions, these are ordinary conditions for felonies with some specifics for your files. So you're not to use alcohol, marijuana, or illegal drugs. I'm not going to order any testing at this time. I don't know that that's what we're concerned about, first of all, and I don't know if you're going to be released. It's possible you'll be ordered to do some testing later on. No purchase or possession of firearms, weapons, or ammunition. That includes knives, that includes brass knuckles, that includes sticks and pipes and anything that could be used as a weapon against another person. No contact with the alleged victims. Thomas Prisco, I need the other name. Somebody Jones.
Tanner Jones.
Tanner Jones.
Tanner
Jones. Or the female victim, Allison Ratcliffe. Do not go to the Target on State Street. And do not go to the bus station. I don't think we have an address for that.
To be honest, I don't know where Allison or anybody.
I don't know where that happened either. The 2215 Fullers. I'm just going to say, do not take any City of Ann Arbor transportation. Public transportation. Don't be at the bus stops. Don't be on the buses. Don't be at the transit hub on 4th Street. Do not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. No criminal behavior of any kind, no assaultive behavior towards any person. And I am going to order a GPS tether for home confinement at the Broadway address. I'm not putting the full address on the record today because we're on YouTube. Should you be able to have your bond posted? The court date for both files will be on next Thursday, a week from today. That's April 11th, and that's going to be approximately 9 a.m. in person with Judge Simpson. Do you have any questions? Okay, you're all set, Mr. Williams. You can stand up and walk to the door when you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.